Dan Lanning's Oregon Ducks are going all in 2026 with the fifth best odds on FanDuel to win the national championship at plus 800. They are returning key offensive weapons like QB Dante Moore, wide receiver Evan Stewart, who didn't play last year, but he's still a really good player, going to be in the NFL someday. Jordan Davison is coming back, obviously, the sophomore next season. Center Poncho, the tight end Jamari Johnson, who honestly could have probably been the number 2 or maybe even number 3 tight end in the draft this year if he were to go. But newly promoted offensive coordinator Drew Mehringer is going to have a lot to work with here. But it's not all just on the offense. On the defense, they also return their entire defensive line: Bear Alexander, Amari Washington, Mateo Uyunglele, and Tatum Tuioti, for the newly promoted defensive coordinator Chris Hampton as well. And other guys like Brandon Finney and stuff like that are back as well. The Ducks will have some of the most continuity in the nation with internal promotions that seem to focus on keeping the band together. But that doesn't mean this is flawless. Oregon has all the talent they need to win it all, which to me means this whole season comes down to their coaching. Dan Lanning is obviously an experienced head coach now. Okay, he's entering into his 5th year as a head coach in college football. He spent time in the SEC. Now he's over in the Big Ten. And he has both his coordinators returning, but not returning to those same roles, right? Drew Mehringer and Chris Hampton both bring coordinator chops, unlike some green hires out there that would have never called a game or anything, but they've never called the shots on a championship caliber type program. They've been groomed for the moment. It's been in the plans for some time for them both to take over, but we're looking at a unique situation here where a legit contender, a team coming in, top 5 type of contender, is going to be coming in with this situation. If they coach like the grizzled vets out there that are calm and poised, I think the Ducks win it all this season. If not, this team might be staring at another situation like last year, losing in the 2nd or 3rd round. So let's dissect the risks here a little bit, the rewards, and why this could be Dan Lanning's either masterpiece or his Achilles heel. So it's no secret that internal hires carry inherent risk. You're betting on familiarity over fresh blood, which can mean either more of the same or possibly some blind spots as well. If the staff's echo chamber misses evolving trends, look around college football. Plenty of programs have flopped by promoting from within without vetting the market first. Ohio State did it by promoting Brian Hartline. Didn't work out for him. Dabo Sweeney's been known to do it. That's when he started to get in trouble with this program, was when he really just kind of started to promote from within. Even a guy like Kalen DeBoer, when he made the move from Washington to Alabama, Ryan Grubb goes to Seattle to be the offensive coordinator there. And Kalen DeBoer, just the internal hire from the tight end position, Nick Sheridan, to the offensive coordinator. Experience and production are more important than ever, especially for coaches, portal QBs, whatever you want to call it. Here's one where Oregon's different, right? Hampton and Mehringer aren't total novices. Hampton's got solid defensive coordinator experience from being at Tulane, where he orchestrated a defense that upset USC in the Cotton Bowl, holding them to under 20 points in key games. His PFF defensive grade in 2022 was top 50 in college football and top 20 in the group of 5 at 83.6. Not a bad grade at all. It's solid, but it's not elite to be a top any more than top 50. I think he was like 43rd, 44th ranked there. Mehringer called plays at Rutgers in 2016, and if we're being honest, it was pretty rocky. 2-10 record with an EPA per play of negative 0.2, but he's been scheming in Oregon's booth since Lanning arrived. He's been there. He has the opportunity to make it happen. He's contributed to offenses that have ranked 8th in EPA per play, and especially in 2025 with how involved he was there. So that's not nothing. It's experience, which we just talked about is so huge for a coordinator. Compare that to Oregon's past offensive coordinators under Dan Lanning, Kenny Dillingham and Will Stein. Neither had big-time championship resumes either. So it's not like you brought these guys in from the NFL. You brought these guys in from Alabama or something like that. Their resumes weren't the biggest either. Dillingham was fresh off of Florida State. Stein was right out of UTSA, and yet they elevated the the Ducks to playoff contention and so much more, being a consistent national championship contender. Dillingham's 2022 offense ranked 5th nationally in SP+, turning Bo Nix into a star. Stein followed with a 94.6 PFF offensive grade in 2023, the best in the nation. The year before at UTSA, he was also in the top 50 nationally and the top 20 among group of 5 teams. Very similar ratings. So Precedent says coming from a lower level can absolutely work in Eugene, but here's the rub. Those guys were external injections who are now the internal hires for the Oregon Ducks. Just like what they've been doing with Dante Moore and then Dylan Raiola in 2027. Mehringer's promotion comes without much success. Is it the time? Is this the move for a title run? It's not like hiring a guy like Brian Hartline, who's never called plays before. He was a wide receiver whisperer, but never called plays. Total risk without the coordinator resume for Brian Hartline. It is sure, it is sure not going to be, Dan Lanning taking the headset himself or anything like that, which would scream micromanagement, and obviously just isn't Dan Lanning's style. On the flip side, it's no splash hire like poaching a Power 5 head coach like Chip Kelly from UCLA or going to the NFL to get a guy like Todd Monken. Proven innovators who have schemed at the highest levels, and yet an internal hire like Mike Bobo won it all for Georgia in 2022. But Bobo also had far more offensive coordinator experience than Drew Mehringer. He was at South Carolina, Auburn. He was even at Georgia before that, back in the late 2000s, kind of early 2010s there. This sets up a unique mixed bag for a contender. If you're getting continuity, vital with Moore's return and a stacked D line, but at what cost? In a CEO era of head coaching where guys like Lanning juggle NIL, portal, boosters, coordinators are becoming, kind of like the head coaches of their side of the ball. Ryan Day nailed it with his hire of Chip Kelly at Ohio State as the offense coordinator in 2024, freeing up Day to be more of the CEO of the program while Kelly revamped the offense. It was top 10 in FEI rankings that year. They didn't go undefeated, but they still won it all. Long time scheming head coaches like Greg Schiano is doing it at Rutgers with his defensive coordinator Travis Johansson, bringing him in from South Dakota where he was the head coach, empowering a vet to have his own defense amid Schiano's kind of rebuild of the defense and what he's allowing there. Brett Bielema's doing it as well at Illinois by bringing in Bobby Hawk, a grizzled mind in leading the unit while Bielema focuses on more big picture stuff. Lanning's internal moves fits the trend somewhat. Hampton's development track record is gold. Safeties, have been excellent under him. Dylan Thieneman earned a 91 PFF grade this past year, which was second best in the nation, all while he was being top 30 in snaps. As most people know, the less snaps you have typically is better opportunity for a higher grade. And so that's kind of how it works out for really good players. But when you play a ton of snaps, it's harder to get a higher grade, which makes what Dylan Thieneman did even more impressive. And to be clear, I'm not making stuff up for clicks or anything at this point. Teams with first-year internal coordinators see a 12% drop in efficiency metrics on average per FSN data. It's kind of like the PFF of college football for the last 5 cycles. But when the hire has prior experience, that dips to just 4% instead. So Oregon's defense under Hampton's influence already boasted a negative 0.154 EPA per play. That's 13th nationally. So continuity could push them possibly up to a top 5, especially with the talent they have returning. Offensively, if they unleash Dante Moore, remember Stein, he kind of held back from the deep shots a little bit in some of their big games. We could see Moore be more explosive and less conservative in big games, because 45 points per game, that's nice. That's a nice machine, but it's about how the team performs on the biggest stage and not versus the cupcakes. And that's not unheard of to happen. We just had an internal hire of an offensive coordinator in Sherrone Moore at Michigan in 2023 win it all. Now, I know there was drama around that and everything, but The Wolverines offense was what they needed to be to support their defensive mind, their main defensive mind, Jesse Minter, whose defense ranked number 1 in SP plus. Moore's offense was top 50, but it was Minter and his defense that carried them. So if Hampton elevates to Minter level, masking any of Mehringer's growing pains or anything like that, Oregon could mirror that blueprint, or vice versa. It could happen the other way around with the coordinators too. But also in the expanded 12-team playoff format, early stumbles from coordinator inexperience could offer forgiveness as well. These hires don't have to immediately click and be that way where you have to go undefeated for the entire season. They just need to do enough for you to make the playoffs and then be at their best in the playoffs. If they aren't, Lanning may regret not making the Todd Monken type of hire or something like that. But honestly, it all depends on how Oregon navigates the risk. And to be honest, we can talk all we want about the coordinators, and we just talked a lot about them and who they could be and everything else. But at the end of the day, all of this rests on Dan Lanning's shoulders. He made the hires. He brought the players back. It's Dan Lanning's time to shine for him to get his first national championship and the first national championship for the Oregon Ducks. I've believed in Dan Lanning ever since he won the Big Ten in year 1. Obviously, I haven't made my national championship pick for this year yet or anything like that, but I can guarantee you that Oregon will be right up there in consideration with the other teams that I have in mind right now. But that's just me. What is your vibe on the whole situation? What's your vibe on the hire, the internal hires versus him going out elsewhere? Do you see the high reward and the continuity like maybe he does, or is it too safe to chase a title? Hit the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. Like, subscribe, hype up the video as well.